Today we're going to meet Margo Pinkerton and Arnie Zhang, who run Barefoot Contessa Photo Adventures. Hello.
Hi there, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Hi, how are you?
We're doing great. So thank you for having us.
Sure, no problem. That's great that you guys doing in partnership. So you both teach people around too?
Yes. Yeah, we've taught for years. I mean, both before we joined Lives and Businesses, we each had taught separately seminars all over the world on various subjects and so forth. So we've been teaching for what seems like forever.
Oh, really? How long you been together?
Let's see, what are we, 26?
Well, we,
Yeah. 26
26
years.
Oh, really?
And
yeah.
So I was an assignment editorial corporate photographer, and Margo was a stock photographer. And
assignment too, but for outdoor industry.
And if you know who ASMP was, she was on the national board of ASMP, and I was on the local board in Chicago. And that's how we met.
Oh, so you actually met on assignment?
No, ASMP is a
American, it's America, it's actually an international society, American Society for Media Photographers.
And it was originally called American Society for
but I mean,
magazine.
So you guys met at a meeting or something, a conference?
In Chicago, correct.
Oh, okay.
I was doing one of my cross-country trips, and we had a mutual friend, actually, it was one of Arnie's last assistants.
Yeah.
And our friend Lee said to me, because I stayed with him and his wife, don't you want to come to an ASMP meeting? Sure, everyone, oh, our chapter is unique. We have all these problems, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, right. You just don't talk to each other. So went to the meeting and Arnie was there and we hit it off and eventually.
And so that's life.
Exactly. So all good fun.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Okay, so which workshop you're going to talk about today?
There's two actually, but they're both in Maine. One is on an island called how do you pronounce it correctly?
Manhican Island. And the other one is Summertime on the Maine Coast. The Manhican Island workshop is full. And some of those people are also joining us for Summertime on the Maine Coast. And it's a unique area. Arnie has come to love it as much as I have. I grew up sailing the coast of Maine. So all these little harbors and so forth that we visit with a workshop, I've known since not quite knee high to a grasshopper, but pretty close.
Okay, so where is that island located?
It's about 5 miles off the coast of Maine.
Yeah, loosely.
It's just an island, a barrier island off the coast of Maine.
Well, it's not exactly a barrier island.
Yeah.
It's out there in the Atlantic.
What do they have there?
Oh, just beautiful, wild, and the same in the area that we go to. Wild, rocky, craggy coastline, surf dashing up over the rocks. The fishing villages with the lobster fishermen who come in and first thing in the morning and they get their bait and you can hear the thrum of their diesel engines as they go out to sea.
But it also has been sent. Margo will correct me, but it's an artist community. Yeah. It has drawn painters there's for hundreds of years, I think.
Decades and centuries.
It's a beautiful setting. And then we do what's called the mid-coast of Maine because too many other people do the typical Maine stuff and we wanted something different.
Yeah.
Right. So a picture tells 1,000 words. So you have some pictures to show us?
Indeed. Oh, funny you should ask.
So you can share anything on it. So why don't you start showing some pictures?
This is kind of a potpourri
of
images that Arnie and I have done really over the years because
during workshops in these locations.
And go ahead.
Well, this one was fascinating. because if you know anything about boats, that the boat the fishermen are standing on is the same design for hundreds of years.
Winslow Homer painted them. They're dories.
Oh
And
yeah, I
so,
think I actually saw one. Yeah.
okay,
They're
so
amazing.
these two fishermen went out to catch fish the old way. And even for the locals where we stay, which is a lobster
It's a working fishing village.
we're amazed to see these guys
And they were
fishing,
young guys too.
yeah, from the same way they did 100 years ago, or actually in the 1800s, so over 100 years
Yeah,
ago.
well, 1700s too, realistically. So, because this area of Maine was settled in the 16 and 1700s, and they've been fishing there for that long. And these harbors that we visit have been working harbors for that long. So it's a pretty amazing area and relatively untouched by the marching of time. They, okay, now instead of rowing, they have engines on their boats and so forth. But it's a hard life, but it's in their blood, and the people are wonderful.
Yeah.
Mainers are called maniacs for a reason.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I see the
So,
large one large boat in the background,
Yeah.
kind of a
Well,
foggy
the time
area.
of year
Yeah.
we go
Fog.
usually is a lot of fog.
Yeah.
So, and that adds a lot to the images.
and so we try to go at interesting times of day. So we go early morning, late afternoon. This is typical of the coastline, rocks, slithering into the ocean and boulders and the tides coming and the waves coming in and out. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And again, the
The
fog.
fog coming in. So, and we are always hope for fog, and you never know if you're going to get it, but it adds something to the coastline when it does roll in. And so, even during the middle of the day, you can go out when the fog rolls in and do some
Wonderful.
interesting photographs.
Many years ago, I did a blog called Blue Skies, Who Needs Them? Because for us, this
Yeah.
is so much more interesting.
Yeah, it's more interesting than
And
blue
we do
skies.
black and white work too, but mostly I think, except for this one, the images were showing or in color. But we love the patterns. I mean, the reason we go to any of our locations is that each person can seek his or own vision. Some groups
Right.
go out, and I think they're called photo tours. They take you to a location. They say, this is where you stand. This is where you put your tripod. I'm exaggerating a little bit because there are some good photo tours out there. And this is the scene that you're expected to photograph. Well, we unleash our people and say, go seek your own vision. See what appeals to you.
With a lot of guidance.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Because we set the stage. One of the things that I think separates our workshops from many is that we really are trying to get people to grow as a photographer, not just go there and shoot a postcard. So our whole philosophy is the same as when we were
in our commercial and
editorial world, is that the work has to be unique. It has to be yours. It can't be a copy of somebody else's, because then you're just in
plagiarizing.
Our world, plagiarizing. And Margo actually was in the forefront of helping copyright laws for artists and photographers.
Helping to strengthen them.
Yeah, so.
And we don't believe in the standard light, so Arnie did this, and he used the bright light to come in and almost create flare in the photograph to give it a different look.
Yeah.
So hopefully the images you see here will not be what I call the same old, same old. We also, we both want to seek a unique vantage point, and that's what we try to get our participants to do. If you've seen it done before, as Arnie said, don't go do it. Someone else did it. Buy the postcard. So here we return to many locations year after year. And so it challenges Arnie and me to do it differently. And I knew what I wanted for this photograph. And I scouted on the rocks, and I was photographing this from my belly with the tripod as low as I could get it to get the leading lines going up to the lighthouse. And then there was a little bit of moisture in the air, so you could see the flare of the light.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I'm basically, for my background is Life magazine and Time. So I love photographing people. I really, for me, it talks about what the environment really is. And these were two lobstermen loading their bait onto their boat first thing in the morning. So I do like shooting into the light. I don't like sunballs for sure, but I do like shooting towards the light to give
And
color and an impression of what's happening.
And letting the flare work for us, because we both shoot into the light.
Yeah, but it takes such a skill to, especially to take picture in front of light, I guess, because it's so easy to get everything just dark, and you know, but you capture all the vivid colors against the sunrise. That's amazing.
That's what we hope. And one of the things that we preach during a workshop, yeah, let's go back to that image, is that we want people to understand how light plays in their photographs. And for us, the most boring light is over the shoulder, basically, hitting the subject.
There are exceptions.
Of course. But the most interesting light is when you can use the light effectively as a part of your photograph.
See the way it plays off the dock here and all that it makes it shine. And we'll have several examples of that as we go along.
In that one photograph, again, if we go back for it, is that when we photograph people, and many of the people who come with us on a workshop are not used to photographing people. We talk about you have to have not only all the elements of light composition, but gesture. Gesture, if it's not correct in a people photograph, means the photograph is not successful.
So here you can feel the lobsterman tugging at the bait. You can feel him leaning into that line to drag that, to put it in and lower it into the boat. Again, blue skies for us are boring, and the gentle fog that comes in can really set a mood. But looking at composition and how the reflection and how it leads your eye through the image, little surprises back here if you take the time to look.
Wow.
So this again is teaching people that light, obviously photography is writing with light. So teaching people to see light and use it effectively is a key element in our workshops. And backlight, again, shooting towards the light. You couldn't do this if you were shooting with light over your shoulder.
You wouldn't have it. It wouldn't glow by photographing into the light. It just reflects and it glows. You can see the water, the early morning dew on the gulls. And again, we talk about simplifying the subject, and most of the image you see are a case of simplifying and isolating. This was, we get up at dark 100 to catch the light and then put ourselves into position for what we hope will happen. There are never any guarantees, but if you're in a place often enough or you know the scenario, chances are if you're patient, it will happen. And so in this case, I was waiting for a lobster boat to come in. And here, for me, what made the shot is tossing the line right here to cleat the boat so he could go get his bait.
And look at the ripples in the water. That's, if you want to separate your images from a postcard to a meaningful photograph, these are the things we try to preach in a workshop.
And telling a story. There are the traps. Here's that somebody's dinghy. It's not his, but it's somebody else's. Oops, somebody else's. Boop. And then, well,
so, I mean, we talk about the nuances in the photograph. Everything that we want is in our photographs. What we don't want is what we don't include. So, I mean, and we do very little cropping because we feel it's important for people to use and see what their camera can do and not find their photograph later on the computer, but see it first, photograph it, and then finish it off in whatever editing program you use.
And then the details of the guy leaning out with the boom, lowering the bait into the boat, waiting for the right moment so he isn't hidden behind that
and
pylon.
The colors, if you look at complementary colors.
And here, reflections, a standard, one of these beautiful old dories.
Yeah, so, that's amazing.
It's incredible. If you really study light, you can make it work to you. Here's Arnie's photograph looking into giving a feeling of depth by using the compositional elements of the rocks, leading you out into the sea and seeing elements of the rocks in there in the water.
And subtle colors too that I was looking for here, reflected from the sky into the water.
And then they're wonderful still lifes. You know, who would think you could make a photograph out of these pilings sitting there in the water? But this was sunrise, and I saw this, and wow. And for me, it made a photograph. But it doesn't look like your standard photograph postcard shot.
Yeah. There's an important thing to remember with us is that we were assignment photographers, and they didn't hire us to be like anybody else.
Exactly.
The major magazines all over the world hired us to do our own vision, and we certainly try to preach that to our participants. Because what's the point of shooting the same old photograph somebody else has?
Here's a guy, fisherman, going down to take. He's going to come back along the dock here to his boat that's off to camera left. But that's part of a working harbor. But paying attention to how the railings and everything leads you into the photograph. Arnie, again, you can feel the guy tugging at the boat, making sure it doesn't disappear. And the way Arnie selected the pattern of the rocks.
Well, actually, if you remember, those were oyster beds.
Yes, I know.
But oyster fisherman who was pulling in his catch for the day or week. I can't remember. But, you know, again, shooting with light to put a slight halo sort of on him. And then the puddle here and the little subtleties of light and glowing here. So those are the things that we really want people to see. And Maine is such an incredible place. It's an unlimited.
It's a potpourri of photo ops.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As a child, I used to come into this harbor, and I love it. It's a very protected, tiny harbor with room for maybe 3, possibly 4 boats. And I wanted to capture the stillness of it. And it was just very calm, very gentle light.
But this is so typical Maine, but done differently. You know, Maine is full of rocky coastlines, and the harbors are full of rocks, and but the even the little boathouse back there and the dinghy with the motor on it. I mean, and the reflections in the water. These are things that people have to learn to see.
Again, you know, creating light, you don't need to see everything, but the way Arnie used backlight here, you see all you need to know. You can see the blue barrel, you can see the fishermen, the traps, or pots as they call them in Maine. The story is there. And so Arnie has told a story with not the common lighting.
And again, something that we talk about, it's, you know, anybody can do a pretty picture today. I mean, your iPhone or whatever camera you're using is almost infallible on doing a pretty picture. But it takes a lot more effort to produce a meaningful picture. And we
Right.
also talk about, are you the photographer who wants to shoot the pictures people expect to see, or are you the photographer who photographs what you want them to see?
And
Big difference, big difference
and
between the
this,
two.
I wanted to show the waiting, that dawn. You see a person over here. You know,
Yeah.
the harbor's going to start to get busy, but right now it's very peaceful and calm. Dawn is just starting to break, but the lights are still on. So there's a story there.
Yeah.
Back to the one you saw before. So it's, I can go back to the grid view and maybe make them a little bit larger. And you get a potpourri of some of the things that you can find in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll
Yeah.
see quite a breadth of subject matter. But the thing is, we talk about is separating, making sure that your viewer knows where you want the viewer's eye to go. You'll see it in all the composition of these various photographs that we've shared with you. It's sort of like Rembrandt. If you look at a Rembrandt painting, there's no question about where Rembrandt wanted your eye to go. And that's what we try to do in our own photographs.
Uh-huh.
And it's,
Well, I'm just looking at what Margo did this afternoon for, our presentation. But if you go online and look at photographs of Maine, these are all different and they're not the same as everybody else's. And if you want to grow as a photographer, you have to learn to put your soul and your feelings in your photograph, and that'll separate it out from somebody else's. But without that passion, we also talk about technique without vision and passion is meaningless. If you
Yeah.
have great technique, but you don't have any passion for the
no
subject,
connection with the subject. Why bother?
why? Exactly.
Right.
So it's all
Yeah.
about seeing and being part of whatever you're photographing. And, I think we've talked about, we do a lot of different kinds of workshops, but each one has a unique personality to it. And Maine certainly does.
And the other thing is, we want people in a workshop, in a teaching situation. We have a lot of fun and frivolity. There's a big fun factor in our workshops because we want people to feel relaxed enough that they'll take chances and make mistakes. But many of those mistakes can actually turn into be wonderful happenstances that, oh, wow, I'm going to do that on purpose next time. Thinking outside of the box, taking chances, trying something new. That's how we all grow as artists, regardless of the medium. And Arnie and I challenge ourselves every time we go out. If we're not growing, we might as well be 6 feet under. And so,
Margo,
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
we do not accept that we know everything.
oh God, no.
That we're learning just like any of our participants, and we challenge each other to do better each time we go out and do the same to the participants. So, I mean, as Margo said, we do have a lot of fun. There's no question, but we take what we do very seriously because we don't want another 400 million Instagram photographs
that look like
that
100,
look the same.
Yeah, right.
We want people to see lights, feel what they're photographing, and interpret the scene in front of them, not just record it.
And it's another thing, along with the fun factor, is the critiques. And people sometimes get intimidated by it, but critiques are the way to learn. And so we tell our people, We're not like your great Aunt Minnie. Oh dear, I love everything you do, which is not the way to learn. It's wonderful to have a great Aunt Minnie who supports you, but you don't learn unless you're willing to accept critiques. Critiques are different from criticism. We always tell people you're not criticizing the person, you're criticizing his or her image. Okay, this doesn't work for me because I'm not sure where you want my eye to go. Maybe if you'd stood a couple of steps to the left and separated this from that, maybe the photograph might have been stronger. Or I wish you'd gotten there 15 minutes earlier when the light would have been perfect. So critiques are everyone critiques everyone else's images, and then Arnie and I weigh in at the end.
One of the, I think, unique things that we do is we get everyone, all the participants involved in the critiques. It's just not Margo and I standing up there and spouting off stuff.
Right.
So, but we've always felt if you, as the artist, can see the good and bad in somebody else's work, it's probably a little easier than seeing it in your own work.
Yeah.
But your own work grows because of what you've talked about.
Right.
All subconscious. And we joke that we always, when Margo and I are out photographing, we have little internal conversations with ourselves about what and how to approach a subject. So, it's we have these funny little conversations. And
sometimes they're out loud too.
Yeah, right.
Why do you do that? You can do better. Let's try something new.
And it's interesting because very often we are with our participants as much or as little as they wish, because everyone learns differently. Some people want very much hands-on. Some people want hands-on. Okay, let me go try it. So everyone has a different mode of learning. But sometimes people say, may I tag along? I said, absolutely. And we tell them, if Arnie's going off in this direction, there may be a reason you might want to trot along. Or Margo's going off in that direction. You may want to see what she has in mind. And people will say, well, what are you thinking? And so, because Arnie and I have been at this for so long, what goes through our brain probably goes through in a nanosecond. But I break it down into a 2 or 3 minute what I am watching out for, the uninvited guests, what's going to give me the best angle, how's the light going to play off something, all the different things that go into the making of a photograph, because we want our people to make photographs, not take pictures.
Right.
We don't take pictures, we make photographs.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. To find Margo and Arnie's photography workshops in Maine Coast this summer, go to the workshop finder, workshop-finder.com. And here you see art workshops, photography workshops, writing workshops, and music workshops. Then click on photography workshops and tours. Here you see all the listings listed by their months. The first listings are year-round workshops. Then you see March, April, May, June. There are a lot of listings in June, July, and August. And here there is Summertime on the Maine Coast Photo Workshop by Barefoot Contessa Photo Adventures. For more info, click on this button and you'll be directed to the Barefoot Contessa Photo Adventures website. Here you can get all the details about the workshop, and you can sign up for the workshop. Okay, that's all for today, and thank you for watching, and see you soon.